A new study out today showing a dramatic rise in the amount of time that kids and teens use entertainment media. The report from the Kaiser Family Foundation says that kids between the ages of 8 and 18 spend an average of more than 7.5 hours every day with media devices. That's up by more than an hour a day compared with 5 years ago. And the study found heavy use is associated with lower grades as well as behavior problems.
They're more likely to say that they are sad or unhappy or bored or getting into trouble a lot. Anything that occupies this amount of time in kids' lives is something that we really need to pay careful attention to.
Joining us now to talk more about the study's implications, Dr. Dan McGee, a pediatrician with Helen DeVos Children's Hospital. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
I mean, there are so many electronic sources out there for kids. You know, the MP3 players, the telephone, the computer, the video games, all of that stuff. A lot of them multitasking and doing some of those at the same time. What's your takeaway from this study?
Well, my first impression was, wow, that's a lot of time. If that was a full-time job, you'd be getting overtime. That's a lot of hours in a day.
A lot, 53 hours a week, we figured. What are you seeing, I guess, as a doctor with these this exposure to kids? What do you think is coming out of this whole thing?
Well, my big concern is not just what they're doing there, it's what they're not doing instead. And what they're not doing instead is they're not being physically active. For the most part, they're not playing outside. They're not interacting with their peers in their environment as much as they should be.
Let's talk about that a little bit, the social implications and getting used to playing with kids outside and going through conflict resolution, making friends, some of those social things. You know, those are pretty much non-existent if you're sitting in front of a screen all day.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think the rules and the boundaries are different. There's not the parental oversight that there is in other activities, and I think it's really a cause for concern.
Well, you know, I put this issue out on Facebook tonight, and I read some of the responses that our viewers have about this, and they were saying a lot of it might be parents not doing their job. What do you think about that? I mean, can more be done by parents to make sure that these things are limited?
Well, I think there's a certain irony when you put it out on Facebook as we're talking about spending a lot of media time.
True.
But I think, yes, the parents do have to take some responsibility. They have to establish limits. What this study also showed is that the children that spent a lot of hours on different media did not have any restrictions placed on them by parents. And I think parents have to set some sort of reasonable guidelines, total up the amount of media time spent in a day that they're allowed to do. Do other things like turn the TV off at dinner time, you know, and just make some guidelines to try to restrict their activity. But at the same time, don't make it so onerous that you're not going to be able to enforce it.
Right, and stick to it, you know. Commit to it. Yeah, okay. Dr. Dan McGee, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Right?